All right, and next up, we're going to cover a slightly different use case. If Mikhail is here from Blue Byte to talk a little bit about how they've been helping companies like eBay improve customer satisfaction around authentic products and fraud, and well, I guess fraud protection. It's not really fraud protection. What would you call it? Fraud? I don't know. You actually, I can't hear you. You need to turn on your speaker. I can't hear you talking. Make
Can
sure
you
your
hear me
speaker's on. Yes, I can. It's not
now? Okay.
called fraud protection, is it? It's called something else. What's it
We
called?
call it brand protection.
Brand protection. I like that much better. All right, I'll turn it over to you. Next 15 minutes are yours.
Okay. Thank you very much. So let's dive right into it. If you don't mind going to the next slide. So, as the title kind of suggests, the point of this presentation is really to showcase a consumer use case, hand in hand with eBay as a brand and our partner on this. And the stat here that we're highlighting is the satisfaction rate of 90%, and we'll get into a couple of more stats. On the next slide, you'll see kind of not getting into too much about Blue Byte and our technology and specifically what we do. We'll showcase that through the actual use case, but at a high level, the reason Blue Byte exists is to improve lives by connecting people and information through the physical world. And what does that mean exactly? I'd like to show you as we go through the eBay case study, but in general, every single interaction that we have that runs through our platform through things like NFC, we have a goal to make sure that in some way, shape, or form improves somebody's life. It could be a small improvement, it could be a large improvement, but every interaction should bring some kind of value to the consumer. And with tens of millions or hundreds of millions of interactions, it actually creates an impact overall. So that's our ethos, that's why we exist, and I think the brands we work with also reflect this. So as we move on to the kind of the next slide, and we can keep going to the next one, really what we've observed and where does that improvement of life and that value add come into play, comes into play across a couple of key things that we've observed and things that everybody I'm sure on this call has observed over the past decade or so. First thing is there's more competition for attention than ever before, whether it's social media, whether it's in store, there's a lot of noise, right? And everybody, I'd say attention is probably one of our most valuable commodities and everybody's competing for it. So how do we make sure that we actually, the attention that we do get from consumers is worth it? We want to make sure that they get some kind of value out of it, and it's a really good interaction for them. The next thing we've observed and that we've seen, if you can keep clicking through, that would be great. It goes to kind of the heart of the eBay story around anti-counterfeiting, diversion. That's been increasing. It's at this point almost a $2 trillion global issue, which is larger than the GDP of most countries. And so think about an improvement of life there. If we can prevent somebody from buying something that's fake, we can save them hundreds or in some case thousands of dollars. Or if you take some use cases around wine and spirits or pharmaceuticals, in that case, you're actually preventing somebody from ingesting tainted or counterfeit items, which is directly related to their health and well-being. So huge opportunities there for improvement. The idea of moving directly to consumer and D2C models, those have been in existence now for a while. They've been accelerated through the pandemic and through COVID. So less opportunity for some of these brands to have a person that's between the brand and the consumer, whether it's in store or in a retail environment. Now a lot of that is happening directly from the brand to the consumer in digital means. And so if we can help them as part of that through the product itself, that allows us to create a better experience. And then things around transparency, sustainability, circularity, these are things that have been buzzwords, call it over the past decade or so, but really are no longer that, right? These are now requirements. Consumers want to know how their products are being produced, where they're being produced, by whom. They want to know kind of the story behind the product itself and the brand, and they want to buy products with brands that are that have similar kind of a similar outlook on this, to make sure that it's ethically sourced, that there's fair labor practices, and that the materials are ones that are sustainable. So all of these things are feeding into what we call this improvement of life. And if we move on, the next slide kind of talks about how do we actually accomplish this and what does that mean? And the idea is, how do you take the physical products that you make as a brand and turn those into a digital platform to enable these things? And so here's an example that we're doing with eBay. If we go to the next slide, we go into a little bit more detail on how we actually go about doing that and what's the problem that we solve for eBay as our customer here. And so over the past couple of years, there have been a lot of platforms, StockX, for example, or Goat, or even the RealReal, specifically around secondary markets. It's a fast-growing market. It's continuing to increase, and in large part driven by some of those trends that I described before. And eBay, even though they were one of the original and largest secondary market platform, they kind of lost some of that steam with some of these new entrants into the marketplace. And they recognized that, and they recognized that they didn't adapt as quickly as they needed to the fast-moving market. And so as part of that, what they wanted to do is to catch up, and not even catch up, really leapfrog some of those other companies and some of those other marketplaces that have come into prominence over the past few years. How do they accomplish that? If we go to the next slide, please. The solution was basically that eBay tag that you see there on the product itself. It's a tamper-proof tag with NFC embedded into it, and it's a secure NFC tag that's powering that, and it's installed onto the items before they reach the buyer. Meaning, as a seller, you're no longer sending, as I'm sure a lot of you have transacted on eBay at some point in time. Typically, in the past, the way it would work is you would sell the item on eBay, and then you would send that item directly to the buyer. Here, there is a middle point, and so the middle point was actually done by eBay in partnership with a company called SneakerCon Digital, and they would send it to their authenticators. The authenticators would go through I forgot how many steps, but 20 or 30 step process to make sure that the item was in fact authentic. If it was, it would get tagged with one of those tags, and through the platform, all of the data about that product in terms of the provenance, the materials, the condition, the specific model, the year, et cetera, would be recorded in the cloud, and then linked to the digital identity that's now tied to that physical product. So when the buyer finally receives the item, which would then be shipped to them, they could tap the item with their phone, and that would bring up all the information about that product. Number one, verifying the authenticity of that product, and then number two, really allowing the consumer to enter into this digital gateway or digital platform, as we said before, into the eBay ecosystem, right? Because that's what it really is now. It's not a single purpose item in this case, and that's kind of what we always try to promote, is if you're going to add this embedded capability of opening up this universe, this digital universe, well, use it to the fullest extent possible, and brand protection is just one piece of that. If we go on to the next slide, we can kind of go through some of the other use cases that they are going through. So brand protection, again, making sure that the item you're buying and receiving is authentic was the primary driver here, but then also storytelling and personalized. The fact that you're getting the information about that specific shoe is very different than just getting information about that model, or a Nike shoe or an Adidas shoe in general. So having something that's really tailored and personalized both to yourself and the specific item. Product commerce, so being able to relist that item really easily with just a tap and a click, rather than having to create a whole new post on eBay of an item that you want to sell. So being able to relist that and participate in that circular economy and the eBay marketplace, and doing it much easier, goes back again to that improvement of life. If I can allow somebody to get something done in 30 seconds versus 5 minutes or 10 minutes, well, I've just saved them some time to actually spend on something more valuable during that day. And then circularity and sustainability, obviously, the idea of getting that back into the eBay marketplace as quickly as possible. So the product commerce and the circularity and sustainability are related. On the product commerce side, the additional benefit is also, once you're in that eBay marketplace, we can suggest additional items that potentially pair well with what you have. We can promote additional items, and so it opens up that ability for eBay to drive additional sales and revenue through those consumers and customers that are participating within this platform. If we go on to the next slide, we can kind of go through some of the key learnings and key results. And here are some high-level stats that they promoted during one of their earnings calls. so these numbers have changed since then, but this is the latest publicly available information. Um, over 2 million items have been authenticated. The customer satisfaction rate is over 90%, and that's measured by them and actual people responding to that. The amount of revenue that it's driven is close to $3 billion, and 11 million new users as part of the platform, in large part thanks to this authentication guarantee that they've been driving. So it's driven additional customers to eBay because of this, because of this capability, and it's the assurance that you have that you're buying something that's truly authentic. Because on some of these other platforms, the way they've done it is, they'll place some kind of tag or hang tag without any really sophistication behind it, and certainly no NFC in most cases. And you can get one of those tags, a counterfeit one of those tags, and buy that online and put it on a fake product and sell it. So, and that's what's been happening in the past, and a lot of consumers have gotten burned by it. So I think eBay really taking a stance on this and saying, hey, if we're going to tell you it's authentic, we're really going to mean it, and we're going to guarantee that it's authentic, has really driven a lot of people outside of just the ones that are interacting with us, but in general, I think from a marketing and promotion standpoint. And as a result, eBay has actually expanded the use of this, capability. First couple of slides, we focused on footwear, and that was really the first foray into this for eBay. And now they've expanded that to as you can see here, handbags, luxury watches, and the latest thing they've added to it is trading cards as well. And so, again, just they're seeing great success in it. Consumers are loving it. It's adding value to those consumers, and everybody's seeing a benefit of it. So great use case all around. And next couple of slides, I think we can just run through this is just some idea of other customers we've worked with. Again, you can see a lot of brands there. We focus really on luxury, fashion, athleisure, footwear, things like that, and then wine and spirits and CPG as well, and really in those four main use cases around brand protection, consumer storytelling and personalized storytelling, product commerce, and circularity and sustainability. And I think that's it. So if we have any, I wanted to leave a few minutes for questions in case we got some.
We've got one, and I'm going to toss one at you too. So one of the first questions one of the attendees asked is, so in all the photos you've shown, the tag is on the shoe. They want to know, do people wear the shoes with the tags, or is this more for collectors, or kind of do you know much about that user experience?
Yeah, so it depends. I would say some people have it as collectors, so it depends really on the type of item. You kind of have your Grail shoes, and they could be in some cases $2,000, $3,000, $4,000, and the value of that is in large part driven by the condition. So they wouldn't wear it, and the tag would stay on. We've seen people wear shoes with the tag because it's also kind of a badge in a sense, right? Kind of bragging rights of both the technology and the the fact that it is authentic, and the fact that if you wanted to sell it or relist it, which a lot of the people who are in this kind of business do. So it's a mixed bag, but a lot of people will wear it. And in the cases where we do this directly with brands, the brands are embedding NFC directly into the item. So they'll put it into the heel of the shoe or the tongue of the shoe, and then obviously it's you can't really see it, and it's embedded. It's part of the sneaker.
Yeah, we do track a lot of that, and I think that Blue Byte is one of the leaders in that category. Real quickly, and this is going to catch you completely off guard, so you can always just say I don't know. But is there the eBay solution is something that's something you've been working on for quite some time. Is there kind of a more recent, like within the last couple of months, application that's gone public that you'd like to talk quickly about, that might have some similar or different properties from what we've seen with eBay?
Trying to think. Yeah, I mean, eBay we launched in Q4 of 2020, so it's been active for about a year and a half. Trying to think of ones that are public. There's a lot of brands, as you know, they'll do this and they won't talk too much about it,
Right.
or at least let us talk about it. Let
me ask this question. Let me ask a different question then. You've kind of done all these things, and you've talked about some of the benefits. Personally, what do you think is going to be one of the more exciting new ways that brands will be using these types of technologies over the coming 2 years? So you've kind of done a backward looking, but where do you think is kind of how do we skate to the puck? What are some things you
Yeah.
think are coming in the next couple of years?
That's a good question, and it's actually one of the brands I was thinking of. Again, it's not public because it hasn't launched yet,
Right.
but it's a luxury brand based out of Europe, and they're tying this in with stuff in the metaverse. So I know that's kind of stuff that people are talking about. But if we think about us and NFC being a bridge between physical and digital, that's one of the places that hasn't really been explored too much. And the idea of NFTs, and I know again, large part of those is a lot of buzzwords, but there is some value in those in certain scenarios. But being able to mint NFTs directly from the product and tie those together, being able to invoke certain actions through the physical product that then translate into the metaverse. So let's say you're playing even online gaming, and you have that shoe, and you can interact with that shoe, and by doing so, you can skin your character in the game with that specific shoe, and vice versa. The activities that you're doing online within a certain game or in the metaverse can get you additional value through the physical interaction that you have on the shoe. So let's say whatever it is, you accumulate points while wearing that shoe, or you accumulate distance while wearing that shoe. Well, now if I engage with that Adidas shoe with my phone through the NFC tag, Adidas can give me additional points or loyalty points or rewards points or special access to new product drops because I've reached a certain point in the metaverse or in the online game. So I think that's kind of where we see a lot of overlap moving forward is, hey, how do you allow those two worlds to communicate through the physical product that's in your hand?
Cool. All right. Well, thanks again for all your support and your time today. Have a good rest of your afternoon.
Yeah, thank you guys for the partnership over the past few years and this opportunity. Much appreciated.